Starts to, I know. I told you you were down there before, and I stayed here, but I might be
staying this. Zach,
everybody
taking Zach's apart.
I know.
We all have instruments in the background except for him. He's got a Death Star. He's got the eminent ball of destruction.
Zach is in the same place.
Yeah.
So, welcome to Simple Blasphemy. I'm calling this Special Blasphemy tonight.
That's right.
Right here we have, as always, Andy's.
As always, there is me, and I am not on location like I was last week.
Yeah,
Damn.
thank God.
Damn.
And Mr. Zach Green.
Won't you come see about me? I'll be alone dancing. You know it, baby.
Holy shit.
And our very special guest.
Very special guest.
Schiff, right here, folks.
Stephen Walter Schiff. Little Stevie Walters.
SWS.
Little Stevie Walter.
Save Warship, right? So, thank you, Steve, for joining us. And we're going to just hop to it and ask you kindly to kind of go down the magical musical lane that you've had the pleasure of driving on. So
driving or participating man. What a great so far so good, man.
Luckily,
dude, like I said in the pre-show, you are the soundtrack of my youth. And I don't even know what that feels like from a writer's sense.
Well, let's get to that in a second. Hold on.
It is odd to have written what people call an anthem, but it's it's a good thing. We didn't expect it to be that big of a deal, and then when it was, I expected everything I did after that to be that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't exactly pan out either.
Called compensation.
That's called being. That's human, man. That's being human. I did it once. I can do it again.
Yeah, well, I keep trying, man.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. And I prepared a couple questions. Just because there are a lot of musicians that do listen to this podcast, and we're going to kind of make this podcast for you today. So the first question comes in, and you'll probably have to give the year as well, but back in high school, what was happening in the music scene around your area, where you grew up, and what was exciting and got you involved in or wanted to be a part of it?
Well, let's see. I graduated high school in 1969, so that puts a time stamp on things. I started playing guitar when I was 11 or 12, and was always sitting in the corner trying to write songs and doing that stuff long before. So the Beatles, when I was in junior high, I was in a band called the Mini Beatles that was trying to do those songs.
But seriously, once again, an undeniable force. I don't care what anybody ever says in the entire world. If you don't like the Beatles, there's something wrong.
Yeah, problem. Yeah.
There's something wrong, man.
You're going through some issues. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to come to grips with the fact that you're going to like one of those assholes above the other ones. I'm a George Harrison guy.
That happens. But what's great about them is the way they put those songs together without being. They just did it without being.
It was a completely organic sound process, man, and that's exactly what being in a band to me and to the rest of these guys is exactly what. That's it, man.
Yeah, that's right. It's really important in a band. Zach and I were talking about this earlier. A band cannot survive unless you have that thing that the guys in Aerosmith have. It's like, everybody comes to the rehearsal room, and I've got a bass player's got a riff, it's and they make it into a song, right? It's all together.
That's why bands have longevity, is because of the organic songwriting process.
Involved in that, yeah.
Okay, in that case, the 20 years that I've been around, I feel have been validated by you. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, because that's all I've done for 20 years is I'm getting into a room, I'm playing a riff, and I'm going to see what the drummer comes up with and what everybody else comes up with, and then we make that thing, and then we refine it. It
belongs to all of you, and then what happens is when you perform, because this thing belongs to all of you in that sort of deep sense, you hold the stage.
Yeah.
Hold the stage well.
Yeah, you connect.
I saw U2 when they came over. I was in a band and we opened for them in their first album, some little club in Orange County, and we were fans of the record. And so we got on the bill to open for them. And they came over here. They were just barely 21, I think. But those guys could hardly play, but they held the stage like Shakespeare. I mean,
that's every band I've ever been in, Steve, and that's exactly.
And that's what I would tell I would coach any band to do that.
Oh, this is fucking therapy.
So,
right
Steve.
Yeah. Sorry.
Back to high school. What was happening on the music scene, like in your hometown, besides
the Doors, all that stuff? I mean, I was in LA, so
yeah.
My hometown, I was just in a suburb of LA. So whatever was happening in Hollywood and all that stuff, on the Sunset Strip and all, I was tuned into all that because I was close enough to go there.
Did you get to see the Doors or any of those guys?
I didn't see the Doors. I'm trying to think of concerts that I went to when I was really young. I didn't go to see shows. I mean, I went to see at the Whiskey. I saw Led Zeppelin at the Whiskey a Go-Go. I saw.
Even I could get down with that.
I mean, because that was like a little club,
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
And
it is a little club.
But I used to go see. I mean, by the time I was in high school, I was into Jeff Beck and. I wouldn't say John McLaughlin. That was just after high school. Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and all those guys. And I was trying to play like them. And going to see Jeff Beck, going to see Procol Harum and Robin Trower.
Oh, yeah.
That's the stuff that my uncle was into, and that's what inspired me to start playing guitar.
Well, Robin Trower was.
Oh, yeah. My
buddy, the bass player in one of my early bands, still a dear friend of mine. He came back and he said, "You got to see this guitar player. When he does vibrato, he does it with his whole arm. He shakes the guitar, and it's just fast and great, And there were a couple of good guitar players that were in Procol Harum over the years. Martin DeBar, whatever his name was. He did some really great fifths kind of stuff. But anyway, so in high school, I had bands with with different band names. One was called Blake, after William Blake. And we wrote our own songs and played local clubs around. And it was sort of the Vietnam era, too. And the guys that were like a couple years older than me got drafted and went over to Vietnam, but they got out of shooting anybody by instantly forming a band as soon as they got drafted. And they got into, whatever they call it, special service.
And to think, Ted Nugent just did a whole bunch of crazy stuff so he didn't have to do that when he could have just been the best guitar player in the fucking army if he wanted to.
Yeah. So let's before we get into that, into the band thing too, in the high school when you're first starting to play guitar, how what was the buzz about the guitar equipment back then? Like where might have you got your information? Where was there guitar stores? What brands were hot?
There was a place called Burbank Music that I would go to, and my first electric guitar was like a Japanese thing that came out of a catalog, and it was pretty bad. And then I saved up my money. I was mowing lawns and doing yard work, and I got a Gibson Melody Maker.
Okay.
And that was my first one, and that had a sort of not a P90, but a sort of single coil type pickup. So I saved up some more money and bought a humbucker, and I installed that in there myself with it. I got a chisel and went nuts, right? Carved it out. I didn't know what it looked like.
Oh yeah, Eddie Van Halen style.
And then I had a Telly. And this is a weird story though, because I hung out with some strange hippies, and there was this kind of speed freak guy that was the brother of somebody I knew, who would come around in the middle of the night with, and he had equipment and guitars that we don't know where he got them, or he stole them, or where they came from, what the deal was. But I ended up with the Telecaster that he showed up with one night. It was pretty cool too. I had that for a long time.
So you're with one of the first bands that basically, ultimately made you a touring musician was a group called 1996 or 1994.
1995.
Or 5. Sorry. It's hard for me because I graduated high school. I graduated high school in 1996, so it's. I apologize.
The band, unfortunately, was named 1994. That's a long, sort of silly story, but we couldn't think of a name. Anyway, yeah, I was working driving a van for a record distributor in LA, and doing the returns department, the record returns, right? Sorting through them so they go. Warner Brothers would go back to Warner Brothers, and A&M would go back to A&M and all that. And so I was having fun sorting through all the records because I found some gems in the process. And driving a van to Tower Records and Warehouse, tons of Peter Frampton Comes Alive albums were going out.
Tons of them.
Tons.
From what I understand from...
I was the guy driving those.
From Wayne's World, that everybody that owned a house had a obligatory copy of Frampton Comes Alive.
Yeah, it's like that thing when U2 gave away their album. It was the same thing, except you had to buy it.
And it wasn't automatically installed on your iPod.
That was you too, yeah.
Automatically installed.
Back in the day.
I was driving.
I didn't listen to it just because of that. I got so mad at myself because I don't mind U2 at all, but like, don't force your
that album on me. Because the songs are so sappy, and I was like, I had one of my first girlfriends that was serious then, and so it was perfect for the time. Anyway, the drummer. The guy that went to Vietnam, the drummer from that whole situation, called me and said, "I got a great singer, and we're gonna form a band, and we're gonna get you a plane ticket, and we want you to quit your job." And actually left my apartment. And I had to have friends move in and out. We flew to Denver to start writing songs because in a couple of weeks, the manager of the singer was going to have the producer come and check us out. We were going to try to get a record. So we went to Caribou Ranch, and we lived there for a couple of months and wrote 3 songs. And Jack Douglas was the producer. He came down, he heard us play, and he did a demo with us. He shopped the demo to A&M, got us signed, and some of that Frampton money came to us. And nice. So we had the great pre-production and rehearsal rooms, and we had hotel rooms in New York, and we went to
I've heard of the rappers talk about the Frampton money before.
Well, I'm sure it's a thing because it was such a huge,
Yeah. So
it was a gamble. They gambled on us.
So it turns out too that you were in a band with Micki Steele, the bass player of the Bangles.
Yeah, that was after 1994 fell apart in a couple of years. But we did tour with Aerosmith and Cheap Trick opening for them.
Oh, wait. How long ago was that?
That was 1978 to about 1980.
Okay, so the last time I saw Aerosmith, Cheap Trick opened up for them, and that was awesome.
Yeah, well, those guys are all buddies, and Jack.
Oh my God! So, I'll tell you right now, my wife would gladly bed down with Steven Tyler.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that in a million.
No, yeah, she would she would bed him down in a heartbeat.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
Every time.
That's awesome.
Steven Tyler was really cool. He told me I was a good guitar player.
I like him.
At the sessions, this is a good story. At the sessions for 1994, okay, we're in New York, we're recording. Guys like John Bellucci would come in. Springsteen was there. Jimmy Iovine was producing Springsteen's album. But one night, and everybody was partying like crazy. And one night, one of the bigwigs from CBS came in with Andy Warhol.
Holy shit!
In the control room. Okay.
Late model Andy Warhol.
God damn.
The Andy Warhol. Now, everybody was frozen. Everybody knows who he is. But he was introduced around the room, and the drummer, this friend of mine, John, his name is. He said, Andy, this is John, and he said, "Don't I know you? You look familiar." I thought,
dude, this is a legendary. This is shit. Is a legendary.
Warhol,
Yeah, it is.
Andy Warhol.
Wow.
He never let him live that down.
Bellucci and oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I stayed up all night with Bellucci and Steven Tyler, and all those guys. And,
holy shit!
Something tells me that staying up all night with Bellucci was a task.
Yeah.
How did you do that? How did you do that?
Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember drugs. We had a special doctor that we went to he was like Jabba the Hutt.
The original or the second version?
No, the original guy. But
okay.
The office was completely dark. You'd walk in, and it would be sort of this. He wouldn't examine you or anything. You just tell him, you're having trouble sleeping, and he'd give you Quaaludes and stuff like that.
Is this Dr. Feelgood?
Yeah, basically.
Oh boy, yeah.
Okay. No, it's seriously. I hate Motley Crue, but like that song, that makes sense. That
really happened. Yeah, that really happened. So I was having a good time. I was chemically.
That's
chemically.
I don't think, Steve. I don't think that I would have been able to survive the era of time that you lived in.
No, I wouldn't have been either.
I think that any of us, had we been granted another 15 years in reverse or something like that, we would have been dead a long time ago. I have to applaud you solely for making it through that shit with your out.
Yeah, I never was I always just, I like to sort of do it, but manage it, because I always felt like it was gasoline for the creativity. And I never wanted to over, just get out of it, because I always wanted to burn. Yeah, I always wanted to work. So, anyway.
All right, let's jump forward to.
You asked about Micki Steele, right?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let me just. So after 1994 fell apart, it was about 2.5, 3 years. I was back in LA, gigging around with the little bands around in local clubs, and I knew Toni Childs and was writing with her, and her bass player in Toni and the Movers was Micki Steele. So, and Micki and I like each other, so we hooked up and started this band called Nadia Kapiche. And the whole thing about Nadia Kapiche was we didn't rehearse, we didn't have any songs, we just showed up at the gig and improvised.
Awesome. And what comfortability, what flexibility to be able to do something like that? That would be amazing.
Well, we thought we were flexible, and therefore we could get away with it. And some of it was kind of cool. A lot of it was sort of repetitive. But I would get some kind of echo set up, and I have a couple of amps with the chorusing and do that kind of.
You put that on the right Thursday night, and you are fucking gold.
Yeah, it was pretty magical. It was pretty magical.
Yeah.
As long as the singer can come up with stuff to say.
Well, okay. When you add the singer, why is that always the wild card? Because if you have the rest of the rhythm section, the guitar player or two working in tandem, and everybody just kind of gets along, it's always hinging on the singer. Why even bother at that point?
Well, you got a point.
Mathematical. If there's no math there, it's.
Well, then you have a three-piece. Then you have a rhythm section and a guitar player or a keyboardist, and then you are able to have the space to do something like that.
I agree.
No, instrumentally, that works great. In fact, I used to listen to Miles Davis, this sort of Live Evil album and the Live at the Fillmore album and all that stuff. So I really absorbed that whole thing of like, hey, it's Thursday night.
It's improv. Let's do it.
Improv. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
And I thought if Miles can do it, then anybody can do it.
Well, and that's where I would fail is to believe that I would be able to do something like that. But if you got
you have to kind of commit. There are no mistakes. You can't. Make everything work.
It's courageous music.
Yeah, it is kind of. I mean, I won't even make the joke or it's crap because I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to find value in whatever somebody does. There's always going to be somebody.
Tapes and tapes and tapes of endless crap in my studio.
And also, there's a long tradition that I grew up in that I'm sure you guys are familiar with, called jamming, where you just get together and you don't really know how to play.
I love it.
Do it. Yeah.
That is my bread and butter. That is one of my things that I like to do. It is bowling league for me anymore these days. And I get together with my guys and we jam and we play a show every once in a while. But man,
once a week.
Getting together, and you have your poker night, your bowling league, whatever the hell it is. I choose rock and roll.
Yeah,
and that's why I got involved in it. It's like I didn't have to do any homework. I just you just be real, man. You're like, hey, this is my expertise. This is what I got to offer to the table. Take it or leave it, for better or for worse.
The bands that I'm listening to, the covers that I want to hear us play, and then you start fucking with the covers, and they're like, I don't really like that. But for some reason, some of that stuff trickles down into whatever you write next. And then you keep the process going. It's constantly organic, and it's like a mother It's like the vinegar mother that just makes all the other different pickles all the way down the line.
Interesting. Yes.
Yes.
So let's because we always run out of time in this thing.
God damn it! We
I want to go to
more time.
Vinegar mother.
Hold on, we're not done yet. I'm just saying the next chapter of our conversation with Steve. Now we're moving into
audacious guys, because they're taking up all the space.
I know. So we're jumping now to Nina Hagen.
Nina Hagen, yeah.
How did we go from all of this to jamming, visiting Dr. Feelgood? Now we're at Nina Hagen.
Well, okay. I was back in LA and doing that thing with Nadia Kapiche and a few of the deals. And an engineer I knew said Nina Hagen is in LA.
Is that how you say it? Sorry.
That's right.
There are 4 A's in Hagen.
Auditioning guitar players. And so I went down and auditioned. And we jammed for 2 days. And Nina was in Germany at the time, and it was the bass player, band leader, was jamming with. And there was 2 guitar players when I first joined. The other guitar player, they decided not to keep him. When Nina came back, she sort of chose me over him. The other guy was, of course, Pat Smear, or Pat Balsara, who landed.
Fuck yes, it was Pat Smear.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he landed on.
God damn it, Andy.
What's his name? Grohl's band. Foo
Fighters.
Yeah.
And he worked with Nirvana too.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy, lovely guy.
Mm-hmm.
He never wore shoes when I met him.
Nice skin. Nice skin.
Yeah. Anyway,
so what year would that be then? Because that's after his big band broke up then, right?
I guess he was between. Well, it was after the Germs.
It had to have been after the Germs, yeah.
Yeah, it was after the Germs. He was going to play with Nina Hagen, and he did for a couple of gigs when I joined the band. And then they liked my hairdo, and they thought they only needed 1 guitar player, so they let him go, and that was it. And so and Nina had just released the album called Nunsex Monk Rock.
Right.
We toured that in the U.S. and it was great fun because that is a dark album. And it was, nothing better than joining a band that when every gig, the audience doesn't know what the F to expect because, the
you
music,
can say fuck if you want to.
Yeah, you can say fuck.
It was like
she's a firecracker.
She's a firecracker, and the band loved to sort of be behind her and sort of join in the energy.
It's amazing that lead energy is so awesome.
What I really enjoyed about the story with her is that, having a decent relationship with you and talk with you over the years, you like that experimental stuff. And it seemed like with her, being on her platform, it gave you the opportunity to really break down some barriers and experiment guitar-wise.
Yeah. Basically, I could play like a cross between Joe Perry and Robert Fripp or something, or
wow.
in other words, I could make strange noises like the guys in Miles's band, or just suddenly crank out the sound of cars crashing together and rock and roll kind of stuff.
I'm stealing that for an album title.
Cars crashing together.
Suddenly crashing together. I must take it.
Anyway, yeah, that was great, really, really great. And then we came off that tour. We even flew to Berlin and played some gigs there. Then came back, and we were going to do another album. We started writing. We're looking for producers, and she got Giorgio Moroder to agree to produce the next album. And
so this is Fearless.
Yeah. Fearless, yeah.
So
go ahead.
You have many songwriting credits on this album.
Yeah, I did write most of the songs. And I would just basically do demos and then give them to Nina, and she would, kind of do her thing on the top, and we would sort of push it into shape with the. But Keith Forsey ended up producing it. He had just finished producing Rebel Yell with Billy Idol, and so Keith and I became buddies. That's how we became mates.
So before we even touch that subject,
yeah,
there is something very, very interesting on this album that I did not even would ever think I would see in a million years. And that is track number 7. What It Is, written by Flea and Anthony Kiedis.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Real?
What
The-
is
the
that
Chili-
story?
The Chili Peppers weren't signed yet, and their cassette was floating around the control room there at Giorgio's studio was in his house, and all their songs were like less than a minute long. They're really short songs.
Fucking awesome.
And they played in some restaurant we saw them, and they were unsigned, but they were around, and Nina really liked Flea, and he came up with that bass line for her, and we just put it together, you know, after that.
That blew my mind. I thought that was just a small gem
I
that
think they wanted Giorgio, or they wanted to work with Giorgio or Keith or something, and so that's why their tape was there. Maybe the manager was shopping the tape around. I'm not sure what the story was.
that's what you had to do back in the day, man. You had to get your tape somewhere in the vicinity of somebody that was a pusher and a shaker.
Awesome.
I had a friend of mine
There's a beauty
say
to
the
that.
Take my
There's a
tape.
Beauty to that.
I had a friend of mine say the phrase to me the other day, are you going to shop this song? And I thought, huh?
I haven't heard that
It's
forever.
so
Mhm.
retro, you know,
Mhm.
because that just doesn't happen anymore.
And that gives me a warm feeling. That's like setting a fire with a newspaper and a lighter.
I know.
I might actually have a bonfire tonight.
Oh my God! Why so late? Why can't I?
All right, so now we only have 10 minutes
the
to go,
time, man.
so let's
damn it.
reel this in here.
All right.
I need
So
to put
now
the bike tires up.
you've already had this. You've had a start of a relationship with Keith.
Yep.
You're on tour in Europe. The
Yep.
tour's over, and you guys are buddies at this point, or had similar likenesses. And he says, "Hey, I got this job, scoring or doing some music for this movie.
I'm gonna score this
Do
movie.
you want to come help me out?" And you said yes. Is that kind of
Yes.
paraphrasing?
How did that happen? How did it all come together? How did the lyrics come together?
Keith was Georgia Moroder's kind of in-house, assistant, but he was also a drummer. So he played drums on a lot of those Donna Summer records. He also co-wrote with Giorgio, a ton of hot stuff and a bunch of those early songs. And he was involved in all that stuff. So he was tight with Giorgio. He wrote the lyrics for Giorgio's song from Flashdance, "What a Feeling."
Wow. Holy shit.
So he and Giorgio won an Oscar. So Keith was stamped on the forehead, movie music guy. And so that's why he was hired to do all the music for Breakfast Club by John Hughes. And he took the job, but once he had the job, he said, "Holy crap, I've got to do this." So he called me and said, "When are you going to be back? Because I can't do this by myself." And that was it. So I came back and we wrote, about 5 or 6. We wrote a bunch of songs. He did all the underscore. I just worked on the songs.
So you can also find, and it is online, the original demo you guys did for that song,
which was used in the movie.
In the beginning,
it was used in the beginning of the movie. It totally was.
And that's me playing guitar. Keith took that demo to Scotland to get the Simple Minds, who were reluctant. They didn't want to do it, and they actually recorded, added tracks to that demo and sort of filled it out, and then he remixed it. But basically, they didn't just start from scratch. They sort of took that and
the only reason I know any of this is because I am Andrew Clark, and then my entire school career, I was referred to as Emilio Estevez's character Andrew Clark from The Breakfast Club.
Okay,
and it was Andrew Clark front and center all the time.
All right.
So I didn't know that. The interesting part is they basically used your scratch track at creating the song. And obviously the story goes, the guys at Simple Minds at first weren't into it, and
even the Fix, the guy from the Fix wasn't into it. And dude, I love the Fix.
I do too.
So you really like that band, and from the other things I read about the story is that you and Keith kind of had them in mind in your head as the ones that were the voice of the tune, or
originally we were thinking Brian Ferry, and the record company was suggesting what was the guy that had sunglasses at night?
Yeah, Corey.
Oh, Corey Hart.
But wait, hold a second. Time out for 1 second. Why is it that Keith's a drummer, right?
Yeah.
Why is it that he's drums, your guitar? Why was it that we have to have the excitement of finding somebody else rather than just doing it yourself?
Well, because Keith's not a bad singer, but we wanted it to be something,
Was it a music video that they wanted for the promo, or?
But you had the vision of Simple Minds in the background, right?
I used to listen to Sparkle in the Rain before I walked on stage with Nina every night, just to get my head right, because that's just such a great album.
Yeah.
And so I just said, oh God, Simple Minds, and Keith flew to Scotland with I forget which guy from A&M. And they just got him to do it, and they just did it on a one-off. They had no idea it was going to be so big.
So, did you get to go?
Incredible.
Did you get to go to was there a movie premiere or anything like that?
Did you go to it? How did it feel?
I did not see the movie until it came out on the video cassette.
Holy shit!
Because I didn't want to. I was like one of the actors that don't like to watch themselves on screen. I didn't want to deal with it.
Sometimes I don't want to listen to anything that I've recorded. Yeah. And everybody gets offended on my behalf that I don't want to listen to my shit.
No, listen. Our Nina's bass player used to record our rehearsals and our jams, and he'd want to sit around and listen to them. And I just
demo stuff when you're writing shit. Yeah, of course, for creative purposes.
Oh, when
the song's done, it's done. If it comes up happenstance, then yes, I'll listen to it. But I'm not gonna.
In answer to your question, we wanted it, especially Keith. He's that kind of guy. He doesn't see the point of doing anything unless it's going to be for something. And so we had to get somebody to cover that song because we wanted it to make a bigger splash than we would make with a lead drum and just the two of us.
All right. So before I have one more question that's probably silly, I suppose, and then I'm done with the questions here because we're almost out of time anyway.
God damn, not enough time.
Before I say this question, hands down, it's got to be crazy that you literally co-wrote one of the most famous songs within some generations. I mean, obviously, maybe our parents didn't quite get it, but hands down,
hell yeah,
wrote one of the most famous songs that isn't.
I would put
it's the soundtrack of my life.
Man. I would put that up against anything that has come before or after.
And
maybe that's where I'm at, but at the same time, where I'm at is really solid.
Okay, before here, I'm going to finish my question. We'll see if we can sneak one of you guys in too if you want.
So
my question is this. Have you ever had or were asked to have the opportunity to play Don't You Forget About Me with the band, like with Simple Minds? Did you ever get to share the stage with them or anything like that?
No. They were
bullshit. It's bullshit.
They were always too kind of dicey.
God damn it.
I met Jim Kerr in a studio in London once, and he was sort of nice, but, couldn't be bothered.
Yeah. That's a bunch of horse shit, right?
I'd be all
because they were a band in their own right. And
I know. They wanted to do their own thing. I know.
I would still give them a "You're welcome."
Yeah, I know. Like you're welcome. Well, I got another story about that, but we don't have time.
Oh, you can go. You are free. You have an open door policy here. If you ever want to come back.
We're going to have to do it another time because we only have 3 minutes left, and it sucks. We love this podcast so much. We do want to thank our Patreons for helping us afford the day-to-day bills for this. And
hello to the patrons, you guys.
We have 3 patrons that we're very grateful. Hopefully we'll get some more, but it's conversations like this. It's conversations like this where it's friends getting together, having a cool round table discussion. We kind of stayed away from the jokies of things that we'll get back to next week. But
hey man, we get as serious as our guests want to get.
Let me tell you, the lyric to "Don't You," since you love it so much.
Oh, I do.
Was written. I wrote it sitting at the coffee table at my parents' house with headphones
Holy shit!
And it is what I what I wanted to say to a girl that I saw across the dance floor in a club in Stockholm after a Nina Hagen gig. There was this girl across the floor that I saw, and she was dancing or something, and I never talked to her, but it was what I wished I could have said to her.
Yeah. And what was that? What did you really?
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
For you there, you go.
What did you really want to say? Like, what color are your underwears?
Like, what do you want to say right now?
You know, but this was the
That's
Shakespeare
awesome.
moment. You know.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome, dude. Thank you so much for that song.
Don't spoil the Shakespeare moment.
Steve, we'd love to maybe down the stream have you back on, and
yes,
we can chat again just about just being good old boys and rock and roll lovers, and then we'll go from there. But we want to thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, folks, that's the show. We appreciate it. Stay tuned next week. We got somebody that's scheduled from where are we at? I know he has to be up at like 3 a.m, even just to do the.
Don't tell me it's Richard.
No. It's
then don't tell me you love me.
No, I wish it was Richard. It isn't Richard.
Don't tell me you love me.
Stay up that late.
No.
Yeah. He's from the Digital Citizen podcast, and he is in a time zone that is nowhere near where we are.
Oh, XMT. Yep.
So
no shit.
We're gonna have some fun with him from Norway. His name is Fro, so stay tuned for that next week. And everybody have a great week, and we will see you later.
Thank you so much.
Guys, peace.